If you're expecting a baby, or your partner is, working out exactly what you'll be paid during leave can be confusing. In this video, I'll explain statutory maternity pay, statutory paternity pay, and shared parental pay for 2026/27, what you're entitled to, how it's calculated, and a few common misconceptions that catch people out. Let's start with statutory maternity pay, SMP. This is the legal minimum your employer must pay you during maternity leave, and it works in 2 stages over 39 weeks. For the first 6 weeks, you're paid 90% of your average weekly earnings. There's no cap on this. If you earn a high salary, your first 6 weeks reflect that. For the remaining 33 weeks, you're paid the lower of 2 figures, either the statutory flat rate, which for 2026/27 is £194 and 32 pence a week, or 90% of your average weekly earnings if that happens to be lower. For most people earning a typical salary, the flat rate applies because 90% of their earnings is higher than the cap. Here's a common misconception. People assume maternity pay covers their full 52 weeks of maternity leave. It doesn't. SMP is only paid for 39 of those 52 weeks. The remaining 13 weeks are unpaid, unless your employer offers an enhanced maternity package on top of the statutory minimum, which many do, especially in the public sector and larger companies. Always check your contract or staff handbook. To qualify for SMP, you need to have worked continuously for the same employer for at least 26 weeks by what's called the qualifying week. That's the 15th week before your baby is due. You also need to earn at least the lower earnings limit, which for 2026/27 is £129 a week on average. If you don't qualify for SMP, perhaps you're self-employed, or you've recently changed jobs, or you earn below the threshold, you may be entitled to maternity allowance instead. This is paid by the Department for Work and Pensions, rather than your employer, at the same rate of £194 and 32 pence a week for 39 weeks. And here's an important difference. Maternity allowance is completely tax-free, whereas SMP is taxable income, just like your normal wages. Now let's talk about statutory paternity pay. There's a significant change here for 2026/27. From April 2026, paternity leave became what's called a Day 1 right, meaning you can take the leave from your very first day in a new job, with no minimum service requirement at all. But, and this is the bit that trips people up, paternity pay still requires 26 weeks of continuous employment, the same as maternity pay. So you might be entitled to take the leave from day 1, but not be entitled to be paid for it unless you've been with your employer long enough. When you do qualify, statutory paternity pay gives you up to 2 weeks, paid at the lower of the statutory rate, again, £194 and 32 pence a week, or 90% of your average weekly earnings if that's lower. You can now take those 2 weeks as 2 separate 1-week blocks at any point within the first year after your child is born, rather than needing to take them together. Beyond paternity leave, there's also shared parental leave and pay. This allows eligible parents to share up to 50 weeks of leave and 37 weeks of pay between them, at the same £194 and 32 pence weekly rate. To access this, the mother needs to formally curtail her own maternity leave early, which creates a pot of remaining leave and pay that can then be split flexibly between both parents. Let's put a real number on this. On a £30,000 salary, your average weekly earnings work out to £576 and 92 pence. 90% of that is £519 and 23 pence. That's what you'd get for the first 6 weeks. For the remaining 33 weeks, because the flat rate of £194 and 32 pence is lower than 90% of your earnings, that's the rate you'd receive. Over the full 39 weeks, your total SMP would be £9,527 and 94 pence. Remember, this is taxable, so income tax and national insurance still apply, just as they would on your normal salary. If you want to work out your own exact figures based on your salary, the free OS payroll salary calculator can help you understand the tax position on any of these payments. Link in the description. If this was useful, give it a like and subscribe. We cover UK pay, tax, and employment rights every week. I'm Lucy. See you in the next one.